Good evening, everyone. This is Jeanette, the owner of MYBC Consulting, that comes to you live periodically on my Facebook page on Mondays with the Where in the World Is ... a W5 story session. And on Tuesdays, it's Blessing Day, where I have the MYBC Virtual Bookstore Author Series that I started at the end of 2020. Where I bring authors online and we chat about books and why books are important and the different methodologies about books and how to write a book, how to get published in a book. And I'm super duper happy to have Miss Gertrude J. Chapman, multiple book, very unique way, book author, as well as an online book writing coach, money expert, and all around amazing lady this evening. How are you, Gertrude?
I'm doing just fine, Jeanette. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, before we got on, we were just both going, we love books. We love books, and we love, what did you say why you love books?
I love to escape.
Explain that.
And go those places and live those places, like the Midwest, when they have those big red barns, I love that.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Quiet, peaceful.
And you can get in there, and there's so many times that people say reading fiction books, really, we got to do all nonfiction, but there's we had an author on a YA youth, I think it's called young author fiction writer 4, 5, or 6 weeks ago. Name escapes me. And she said she weaves into her fiction books methodologies on how to talk to people, like how young people can talk to adults, and how little subtle ways of planting ideas and how to go about the world. But when you do it with a little bit of a fictional twist, then the young reader is not realized they're getting a lesson at the same time.
Wow, so that's interesting.
Yeah. So tell me, Gertrude, where are you in this big blue marble?
Where am I? I'm in Florida. In Central Florida, and it's 80 degrees here.
I was just getting on. I'm in Abbotsford. I'm here babysitting my my nephew dog, as my brother and sister-in-law are away on vacation, and he's such a good little dog. And we were explaining that today in Abbotsford, we've had hail and rain and sun and wind and thunder and lightning. We've had it all. It's definitely grab a book and go under the couch reading kind of day. So before we get into, what genre of books do you like to read, Gertrude?
I love Christian books. I love mystery books. I love biographies. I love those books. Especially, I love to hear people talk about their life. Getting to know people. Because sometimes we think we know people, but we don't really know until we read their story. True enough.
So I introduced you as being a multiple book writer, book author, a online writing coach, if I say that correctly, a money expert, and you're also a publisher. So I want to unpack, let's unpack the multiple book writing, best-selling author. I was on your Amazon today, and my goodness, my friend, you've got a lot of titles out there. So what type of books do you like to read? Write.
Well, I like to write books that will inspire people, inspire them to know their value, inspire them to, especially women, to know what they have, their treasures and the gems inside of them. I love to, like I said, inspire them to maximize their potential, because that's what my platform is about, maximizing your potential. And especially women, because that's my audience, women. 79% of women suffer with self-esteem issues. So, but I like to write books that will help women see their value, because I call those treasures, those gems on the inside of them, and bring that to the forefront. I see those things in people when I'm talking to them. I see so much inside of them when they don't even see it in themselves. And it doesn't matter. I don't need to know you. I just start talking to you.
That's awesome. And that's being the present in the presence to receive the present of that person, all in that on that same vein. So what was your first book you wrote? And can I find it on a shelf somewhere?
Let me see. It's been a long, long time ago. I know one that I wrote. It's not my first. That one's on the Amazon platform. It's called, let me see. What is it called? It just escaped me. Motivation from Within. Leveraging your power. Okay. And that was a story of how I grew up. Okay. That was a story about me and the environment where I grew up in. And the environment is my house. Okay. Because it doesn't matter, what side of the track that you grow up on. There's dysfunction in all areas of people's lives. Okay. You have dysfunction in your life just as well as the person that may have grown up in, the projects or whatever. And that wasn't my case, but I had dysfunction in my house. And that was something that I wrote because growing up, my uncle lived with us. It was my mother, my dad, my grandmother, because my grandfather had died. And my grandmother was half blind. So my mom and dad decided, to stay there with her to help her. And my uncle, he had been released from the army from a medical institution. Okay. I think he spent 17 years in a mental institution. That's what I meant to say. And the things that went on in that house, motivation from within. And I was growing up as long as he took his medication, Jeanette, he was fine. But once he stopped taking his medication, he turned into this madman. Okay. And in that book, I just wrote about the different things that went on in that house that nobody knew about because, everything stayed within those four walls. You weren't allowed to tell anybody. And if it hadn't been for, like I always say, God on my side, where would I have been? Okay. That's where the motivation comes from because it came from within. Okay. The fight came from within because, there's people that have been through things and they have lost their minds or committed suicide or turned to drugs and alcohol for things that maybe I might have considered, but it's not their story, but I may have considered that was less than what I was going through. But I had a willingness to fight in my teenage years because it was very, how would we say this? How do you say that? It was very touch and go. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yep.
It was very touch and go. Trauma. That's what I'm trying to say. Right. In that situation. And that motivation, So when I write books, when I talk to women, I try to inject that motivation. Don't give up. Okay. No matter what your situation or your circumstance is, you have value. You have worth. And you can't base your value nor your worth on a situation or a circumstance. That's just what you went through. Okay. That's just what you went through, but it does not define who you are. And certainly that didn't define who I am. Okay. And know me. It was just something that I went through. And so that's where I get that fight. Okay. Sometimes I think I be fighting more for people than they be fighting for themselves, trying to pull it out of them, trying to pull out their value so they could see, so they could understand. Because once, I'm in there with that person and I'm pouring into them, okay? And I see that glimpse of hope. I see that glimpse of they getting that understanding, then, it's a change for them. You know what I mean? I try to, interject that fight into that motivation from within, because that's where our motivation comes from. Everything we need is within us.
It's interesting because the imagery that I get is, of course, they say how a vessel and you pouring into them, they have that feeling of more. So then they are able to release, like you're pouring into them. Like I feel, as I try and articulate this, you're pouring into them and it's just, they are so overwhelmed and have more. It just naturally then wants to push out. If you understand what I'm trying to say, it's that they're full, they're over full, and the good stuff about them is now rising to the top to be able to come out, to get onto a page, to be able to write, to be able to go be their best self or teach or whatever that looks like, and how you poured it into a book. Excuse me just for a second. I'm babysitting my brother's dog, and he's coming to say hi down here. Benson is coming home. Benson, we're getting really animated talking about books, right? Maybe is there such a thing as a dog, read a book to a dog? Somebody needs to get on top of that, because he's a really good boy. So that's beautiful. So when I say, can I hold this book in my hand and purchase it off a shelf? What's the answer to that?
Yes, you can, because Amazon has it where you could hold it in your hand. I don't have a copy right here with me. It's somewhere around here, but it's not, for me to, I don't know where it's at. Put it that way.
Okay.
But you can purchase it. You could purchase it.
So print on demand.
Yeah, it's on demand. I think I wrote that back in, 2010.
Wow.
Motivation from within, leveraging your power. And
how many books have you written, Miss Gertrude?
Over 20, all of them on Amazon. No, all of them on Amazon, because I have books on my own platform, because it's a variety, because I write Christian books.
Okay.
I write, how-to books. I write inspirational books. Those are all, a part of me. That's all a part of me.
Okay, so now you found this gift in yourself to write books. And one of the titles that you have underneath your LinkedIn is that you're an online book writing coach. How does that look like in your world? If I had people watching today, what does that role look like for a new author?
Well, so they don't be overwhelmed, because, there's a way to write a book and there's a way not to write a book. There's a way for authors to attract clients, knowing their audience, and there's a way that they could repel those people away from them. You have to know who's asking the questions, whose answers that you have. You have to know, number one, you have to know your audience. Okay. And I always say, Jeanette, this is a big one. You have to live your truth. Okay, you have to live your truth, and that's a big one. And a lot, if you hear my live streams and anything of that nature, what I talk about, I always talk about living your truth. And that one is unapologetically you. Being unapologetically you.
And it's interesting you say that about your truth and you coaching them and them getting it down on a piece of paper. If there's anything that lasts a lifetime, is words on a page. Versus the words that we're exchanging now. Yes, they're going to be on a video somewhere, and the video might get deleted, and that those words on a page are truth, and they're going to live long after you're gone. So might as well write your truth. That's so powerful.
Yeah, write your truth. And in a way, when I'm talking about write your truth, connecting with your audience, you that expert, okay? You're that expert in that field. You can, when you start writing a book, you got to already be that expert. You can't write that book and become that expert. You have to already be that expert.
Okay.
Because if not, there's nothing there. And people know. Okay, you can't fake it, because it's an energy that comes from you. You have to already be that expert. And, people just have to find out who they are and what they have to bring to the table.
I love that. I love that. And now you also help people get published?
Yeah.
Okay, so
and, for a while I did that too. Because, you hear me talk about when I got laid off twice back to back when the housing market went bust, and I had to find out what I had to work with. Okay, working in corporate where I wasn't satisfied the first place. Okay, and I had to find out what I had to work with. So I took my hobby, which was writing books at the time, because I was just doing it for fun or doing it just to give somebody where I would speak at these nonprofits something to have in their hands. So then I had to turn back to writing my books and putting it out there and selling it. And then after I got success from this, my friends would, well, Gertrude, how you write a book, and I would teach them. They would refer people to me. And I started publishing their books, putting them on the platform for them. That's how I became a publisher, publishing their books. The same that I was doing for myself, I was I was doing it for them. And then I began teaching them how to do it themselves. Okay, because I'm on my writing journey. I'm on my path. I'm on my journey. Jeanette, a book is nothing but a gateway to other opportunities. It's nothing but a gateway. Okay. And I'm moving toward that. And the next thing, book coach. Okay. You see, I'm moving down. Yes, and the next thing right now is maximizing your potential. Women, stop leaving money on the table. Maximize your potential. Your book is a gateway. It opens up many opportunities. And if you're a business owner and you haven't written a book, you're leaving money on the table.
There you go.
That's why you got to know your purpose. You got to know your purpose.
I love that. And I always forget at the top of these, or now I'm going to say it, if you've got any questions for Miss Gertrude, put them into the comments on the Facebook page. She'll come back and take a look at that later. I do like to stay present versus seeing comments kind of come shooting in as we're talking here, because you are my gift today and I like to stay present for you. Wow, so incredibly powerful, that book. And I've had a couple of other authors that say that in business, it's almost the next evolution of your business card. Your business card can only say so much. Then everybody moves to that one-page pamphlet or flyer. Then they choose to use a trifold flyer to give a little bit more information. And just think of having that book that's left behind, or not even behind, but more foundational, out to the world to make that change, and what you can take. That's profound. What types of, if you were to come with your top 3, what type of writers or new authors do you like to work with, Gertrude?
What type of writers?
Is there a business type woman that you like to work with that is going to write a book?
Well, no, basically entrepreneurs, taking them to that next step, taking them to that next step in their business, because otherwise they're not maximizing, like I say, maximizing their potential. They have stopped, and there's much more to them. There's much more down that writing journey or down that entrepreneur journey. And sometimes people just get comfortable. They think that, if I just write one book, that's all there is. And what happens, Jeanette, we see people writing books. They're all fired up, about writing their book. They sell 100 copies. I don't know why I said 100, but they sell a few copies, And then the rest of the books, they're sitting in the corner in boxes, collecting dust and deteriorating. But that message is something that people need to hear. There's 63,000 Google searches every second of every day of people looking for information from people that say they're experts in a field and they have yet to write their book, or they have just stopped, getting that book out to the public, to the people who are asking the questions that they have the answers to.
Oh, wow. Oh, so powerful. Oh, I could talk to you forever about this subject. So let's wrap this up by, you say you're a money expert. What does a money expert mean in Gertrude's world? That's an interesting hat to wear in this life.
A money expert, bringing value outside of yourself. Okay.
Ooh.
Everything that we need is inside of us. It's not on the outside, us reaching on the outside to, to get it and bring it inside. It's on the inside of us. Okay. We have everything that we need. And like when I talk to women, they're not seeing their value. They're not seeing their worth. They're minimizing who they are. Women, a lot of times, they put themselves on the back burner, making sure that everybody else is taken care of. The husband's taken care of, the kids are taken care of, the boss is taken care of, that principal, their students, whoever it is taken care of. And they forget what talents they have. But when that boss needs that project to get through, to boost his company up, where they could get bonuses, where they could be promotion, who he's going to call on? He's going to call on that woman to get that project done, to get it through. But she forgets, okay? She forgets that she's a vital part. And women, we have our hands in many, many different things. But when it comes time for us, what happens? We're tired, we're overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. Money expert, getting out of your mind, okay? This is your wealth right here, okay? Ooh. If you could think it, you could have it. If you could think it, you could do it. You can.
So taking it beyond the zeros in the bank account and taking it back to the mind. I love that. I love that. Oh, so thank you. I'm just absorbing all this beautiful information that you've shared today with a different perspective about being an author, how to publish using Amazon, your amazing services. So I encourage you all, if you want to reach out to Miss Gertrude and help you get that book out of you, I think I can feel it'll be a very easy, well-guided, fruitful, and wealthy bunch of information at the end that you're going to be able to take that book, other than a pile in your garage somewhere, to be able to advance yourself both personally as well as in your business. Wow, what an absolute pleasure, Ms. Gertrude, having you on my show today. Also, a special shout out to you. You had me as a guest speaker at a summit. Yes. I think it was last month or the month before. Days seem to be going by so fast these days. I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of your circle of friends and business associates on what I do and how I love to connect people up to their greatest story. So one last parting comment. What would you say to someone who is thinking about writing a book?
Just do it. It's time. It's no time like the present, just do it. Be intentional about it and just do it, especially women. You have a story to tell. Every woman has at least one story to tell. And there's many books that's inside of you. So that's what I have to say. And thank you, Jeanette, for, allowing me this opportunity to speak in front of your audience, this great audience that you have. And we got to do it again. We got to have a conference again where we could bring value to our audiences.
Absolutely, absolutely. So there you go. Great insight from Gertrude J. Chapman of lots of multiple hats that she wears in this life. So I often say at the end of these little get-togethers on the MYBC Virtual Bookstore Author Series, where I bring authors, publishers, you know what, I'm having an illustrator come up soon. I haven't had an illustrator come up because that's always a question too. That go to that thing called the bookshelf. Pull down a book, grab yourself a cup of tea, glass of water, little glass of wine, whatever you prefer, tuck into that couch this evening, take your mind, take your body, take your heart to places you've never thought possible through the words of somebody else who's exchanged their precious time currency to put their story down on paper for you. So thank you once again, everybody. I'll see you back next Tuesday at 5 o'clock for another author who's going to share how they wrote their books. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.